Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we've got a very special guest on the program today to talk more about the process of healing. His name is Marvin L. Wilkerson, and you've got a whole bunch of letters after your name, CHCL, I believe it is, CM, NLP. I know what that one is, Neuro-linguistic Programming. Welcome to the program, and thank you for being with us to talk about of course, you're being a certified hypnotherapist. You're dealing with, I believe, what is it? Astro-psychology, Master of Neuro-linguistic Programming, and author of A Recipe for Healing. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So if you can, what's the CH stand for?
Certified hypnotherapist.
Oh, there you go. And then, of course, the other here. Now, is it astro-psychology, or am I misreading that?
I like to think of it as astropsychology. A lot of people don't understand that verbiage when it's aligned with astrology. But it's spiritual astrology, it's evolutionary astrology. So whatever way you want to look at it, that's what I do. I've been studying astrology for over 50 years.
Now we're talking about Western or Eastern/Vedic astrology.
I'm talking about Western astrology.
Okay. So can we dive in real quickly here? Because I'm sure you've taken a look at this year of 2026. Now, I've asked this of other astrologers I've had on the program, including my Vedic astrologer friend, David Hawthorne. And I've asked the question in regards to countries having an astrological chart.
Well, of course.
And so forth. Can you share with us your insights as you have run the chart for the United States of America, and what we're looking for in the next 11 months of 2026?
It's not good.
Oh my! But we'll survive.
Yes, we will survive.
Okay.
Well, the way I look at it, as most good astrologers do, is I look at cycles and I look at the patterns that cycles repeat. They're not the same thing, mm-hmm. but they do repeat. And so when I looked at, I just did a podcast on the Capricorn new moon, and the big deal of what we're all getting ready to go through now is basically we're moving out of being passive, being being in a polarity of picking sides, of being vague about our beliefs and what we would like this society and culture to be, into much more of a proactive standing up for what our soul represents and what we represent as what is right within ourselves. And the big deal of that is basically as Neptune is leaving, as beginning a new 165-year cycle, and it's moving into Aries. So when you talk about Neptune, you're talking about dreams and faith and compassion and dissolving old identities. It's fog meets flame, and the flame is Aries, and that's action, courage, and independence. This is who I am, is an Aries. And so we're going to stop dreaming and being pacifist about what we would like this country to be and what we would like to do or rebuild in this country. And so it's having spiritual courage now. So it's standing up for what we believe in, and starting to move into an Aquarian age, which is now a 40-year cycle. And so we're moving into much more of a humanitarian society as well as humanity. Only this country is taking it a little bit harder than the rest of the countries in the world, because we're in the downside and all the other countries are realigning. So one of the questions I asked on that podcast was, what would you fight for if you trusted your soul? And I think that that's going to be the question for America, is what are we going to fight for? What are we going to stand up for? How do we want this country to be reshaped and reformed? And that may require more than more than just a little bit of being a arguing about it. That may require you get into actually fighting for it. And if that's what you've got to do, then that's what we're going to have to do. Basically, this time represents the last time Neptune went into Aries was in 1861 to 1875. So guess what was going on?
The Civil War.
The Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like I said, history repeats. It doesn't duplicate. Now, that has to depend on each one of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are we going to duplicate it by going into Civil War? I mean, I would like to think not. I would like to think that as we start collectively saying, I mean, just for argument's sake, if we start collectively fighting ICE, well, then ICE ain't going to exist.
Yeah.
If we start collectively pushing back against the National Guard, well, the National Guard is going to die, because there's 100,000 of us for every couple thousand National Guard.
Yeah.
So we're moving into that time, and when we looked at one, Chiron is a representative of a healer. It's the wounded healer, and in this particular chart, it's healing through honest, future-focused conversation. So that pretty much spells it out right there. And then when I look at the chart, it got a Mars-Pluto Sun. This is an obsessive desire to build something of value. So look, we've had the problems that are facing us now with a man that wants to dictate over the Constitution. But what he's dictating is stuff that's been it's been around for ever since this beginning of this country.
Right. It's nothing new.
So how are we going to tear it down, which is being torn down,
Mm-hmm.
and going to rebuild it? What do we want as a society to rebuild this country?
Yeah.
And the picture that I got, in the image that I got when I was looking at this, was this is like the rapids. When you're going down the rapids in a stream, we're in the rapids. We're in the chaos. Yeah. Well, out of chaos comes form. Mm-hmm. And it takes chaos to bring new form. Mm-hmm. So what kind of form do we want to bring about?
Yep.
And that's the question. And then that is where we're going to be putting our energy. Now, on top of that, we've got Saturn moving into Aries, which is a 30-year cycle. Mm. And the last time that occurred was, of course, in 1996 to 1999. And so now what we're doing, Saturn is the foundation of reality. This is the builder of reality. Aries just goes. It doesn't hesitate. It goes. It's a warrior. It's a fighter. And so we're going to be tested around the independence and leadership. We're going to have to go through act with intention instead of just impulse. Saturn's going to slow Aries down, but Aries is going to be fighting for what they want to accomplish. Mm. And so when we look at that period of 69 to 99, the whole world was in a conflict over sovereignty and identity, over expansion and hardening of power structures, oligarchs, politics, including NATO, a surge to economic ambition and risk-taking. Governments and institutions were pushing forward decisively before fully understanding some of the consequences. So if you look at that time period, this was when good old boy, what was it, the Contract of America?
Oh, yeah, I remember Newt Gingrich.
Newt Gingrich. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Big Mouth himself. Contract with America. Yeah, there wasn't no contract with America. That was the beginning of the politicians and the oligarchs condensing power.
Mm-hmm. Consolidating
power. Consolidating power. Yeah. And so now here we are. Yeah. And so I think as we move into the Aquarius new moon on the 17th, we're really going to get rattled, because that new moon is going to be squared by Uranus, which Uranus is rebellion, independence, and individuality. And it's sudden, unexpected change. So I'm anticipating quite the ordeal over the next month or two.
Yeah. And of course, we're still in winter. And of course, most of the country is in a deep freeze. And certainly we also have that one particular, I'm going to call it a group of people. I'm not going to call it an agency, even though it does have a name, that is out there. And the sad fact for me is, and I'm serious, it breaks my heart to even say this. And one of my friends made the comment, says, "You're now just figuring that out and at 65. I said, no. I've known this for a long, long time, but it's just been really hammered home that public policy, political policy, whatever governmental policy is more valuable than human life. And that's what hurts so much, is that we as citizens, not immigrants, citizens, people, are less important than. And we can talk more about that, but we're going to jump into your book, which is fascinating. We're talking with Marvin Wilkerson, and he does have a website, and I hope you'll go there. It's astromarv.com, astromarv.com. And we're talking about a recipe for healing, and we are going to talk about that as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan. He is Marvin Wilkerson. Marv, thank you so much for being with us here on the program. And, you know, I, I feel the need to at least say this to those who are listening and watching, that the views expressed are those of yours truly, as well as of Marvin. And my views are mine. Okay, I'm not putting mine on anybody. My perspectives. It's just my observations. I'm just trying to understand like everybody else. Marvin, I know too that a lot of people are very concerned, and we'll take into consideration what you've just said from an astrological standpoint. Um, and it's, a lot of people on this program have talked about the need for healing, that how important it is that we find ways. And I would quote Gandhi, who says, be the peace, for example, that you want to see, or be the change. And in this case, healing. We have to heal ourselves on the one level before there can be any healing outside of ourselves. Now, as far as your book is concerned, tell us a little bit about the impetus for this. You've got a recipe, and I'm curious how many cups of this and how many grams of that and how many pounds of this we need in this recipe to start with self, going within, as we promote here on the program, going within during the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and listening to that still small voice. Talk to us about the recipe.
Well, it's a collection of all that I've studied all throughout my life, the astrology and the hypnosis and hypnotherapy, but especially metaphysical and spiritual ideals. And I look at the ideals of all very enlightened people, Gandhi being one of them, but all of them, from Lao to Buddha to Marcus Aurelius to Dr. David Hawkins recently. So Plato, Aristotle. I look at all these people and what they've had to say on down through history. And that to me encompasses universal truths. And universal truths is where we all have to aspire to reside. Authentic self-realization. When we can get into our self-realization, I wrote the book to help you understand the various confrontations that we bump up against in our own mind. Einstein said all is energy. That's all there is to it. And so if we stay in the moment, that's one way that we can monitor feelings, which is feelings and emotions are the only truth. The mind, the conscious mind, is an ego. It trying to take control. It wants power. It is not the truth. So the final arbiter to our thinking is our feelings. And when we feel love, joy, happiness, and peace, well, this is the positive gift of emotions. When we come into the conflicts of depression, anxieties, and relationship problems and so forth, well, these are the negative emotions that comes from being conditioned and programmed from his early childhood up into adulthood. I like to quote Ken Keyes, wrote Starseed Transmissions. Before we're the age of 21 years old, we've been told 60,000 times who we are, who they are, what the world is, and our place in it. And so I say, by the time we reach 20 years old, now we're responsible for changing our beliefs, our realities to much more align with our values instead of our programmer's values. And so I like to talk about the three mind concept. You got a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, and an unconscious mind. An unconscious mind is just simply the programming of our heritage, as well as the epigenetics. The conscious subconscious mind is the record keeper for everything we've ever experienced, this lifetime, past lifetimes. Everything is in the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is just the personal consciousness that we walk around with so we can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. And that is the least powerful mind, is 5% of our reality, while the subconscious mind, which is a million times more powerful than the conscious mind, is responsible for 95% of our reality.
Yeah.
So the point being is that we need to understand the division of the minds. And if we understand the division of the minds, then we can start taking control of self-talk.
Yeah.
You know, but back when we grew up in the 70s and the 60s, if it feels good, do it was our mantra.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people nowadays. You know, if it's the final arbiter to whatever you think, if it's a negative thought and you don't feel good, well, then you reject it. You throw it away. You change, you stop the thinking in that direction and you decipher what feels right to you.
Yeah.
So I talk a lot about negative self-talk and positive self-talk. As a hypnotist, you know, when you go into an altered state of consciousness, into that subconscious mind, you're already in a healing modality. It's like, you know, people say, well, that's like meditation. Well, this is the deal. To get where I can take you as a hypnotist, you need to be a professional meditator, which takes a heck of a lot longer than just 1 or 2 years.
Right.
So when I can take you into a place which we call quantum healing techniques, this is where you can lose your sense of identity, of separateness from all that is.
Which is a good thing.
All that is.
Yeah, which is
a very good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you get into that reality, all is perfect.
Well,
and whatever's going on with the body is healed.
Yeah. Let me jump in real quick here because it ties into something that I've observed. I look at, for example, I believe it's in the, not the preamble, but the declaration, and talks about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I, being a metaphysician and understanding what you're talking about, what you just talked about in terms of our connection with the oneness, that life and liberty are not, they're from a spiritual perspective, from a metaphysical perspective, they are irrelevant. It's not that they're wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they're irrelevant from that higher level of understanding our connectedness, our oneness. You and I are one, not because we believe and think the same way, absolutely not, but because we are both, if you will, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, because we're both made out of energy, or as some scientists have said, stardust. We're all made of the same stardust, if you want. And that there is, and I think it was Carl Jung who made the comment about how there is only one mind in the universe, and we're all part of it.
Yeah.
So I understand people's desire from their personality, from their ego, to want to be an individual, and that's great. All right, I more power to you. I am an individual, but I also recognize my connectedness as well as my responsibility as the entity that resides in this physical body to all of the other quote unquote individuals in their, shall we say, meat suits. It's like when people were talking about how the government was trying to take away their individual rights during the COVID shutdown, their First Amendment rights. And I'm going, you think that they're trying to take them away? Guess what? I have the same rights. I'm exercising my right, and again, this is on me only, to wash up, step back, and cover up, okay? Because I have a responsibility to posterity, to those who are going to come after us. That's just my perspective. Your thoughts as you zoom in there. You might want to zoom out there a little bit. on your video.
Well, look, we're always connected.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that people don't understand. There is no disconnect. You are already all there is. You and all there is connected,
Mm-hmm.
right along with the universe. So the issue is what you're describing as, well, I'm in the pursuit of happiness and blah, da, 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 da. No, you're in the pursuit of self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an opportunity here in this third dimension reality to experience reality in a linear way that allows you to experience individual events, relationships, and so forth, that allows you to become more whole, to become more self-realized as a universal being. And so I think that that's where healing comes in, is when you realize that you are not separated. And this is where, I mean, I've just delved into quantum physics and just love it, because it I mean, the whole universe is connected and communicates. So, there is no disconnect. And when we as individuals start respecting and caring about other individuals as much as we care about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
now it's what I tell these people that argue about, well, you're a liberal, where you're a conservative. Say, no, I'm a humanitarian.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving into the Aquarian age, where humanitarianism is going to be the dominant force, to where how we organize as a humanity, much less organize as a society.
Yep.
And I think that that's where we've got to start. The healing process is where do you think you are disconnected? And where do you think the conflict is in your life that's disconnecting you? So what is your beliefs? I run around all the time and somebody will say, oh, this hurts, or I've got this, or my pain. I love that one. I said, well, what is the belief that keeps it for you?
Mm.
What's the belief that allows you to keep that pain, that hurt, that conflict going in your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you transition, and there's enough information out there on transitioning. When you transition, there is no beliefs. You're in universal consciousness.
Yep.
You're privy to all that can be and all that could be and all that will be.
Yeah.
So stop with all the beliefs. I got a belief. I believe this. I believe that. There are no beliefs.
Yeah.
So, but the moment you get into a belief, well, you're in a box. Yeah. And that box is going to dictate your reality.
Absolutely.
So healing is about helping you get out of your box, get out of your belief systems that you believe everything should be what you believe it should be.
Yeah.
Or one way. Instead of looking at everything as being an opportunity and a teacher. Yeah. And I don't know if you listen much to Bashar, but he said one of the greatest things that I've read in all of my life. And that is, live your excitement, follow your passion, and let go of the outcome.
Yes. Yes.
How difficult can that be?
Yeah. Become part of the process. Don't try to control it, is how I have observed that. And it's great. And it also reminds me of something that Greg Braden, who's been on this program many times, when we were talking about his book, and this is going back to 2008, I might tell you, talking about his book, Healing Power of Belief. And he said in the conversation that today we believe, but one day we will know. And I think it's in the transition that we will know, not here in this world, not here in this material world. And I'll also touch base on something else that you said in terms of the chaos. I did a series of interviews regarding authors who contributed to a book called Chaos to Clarity. And also in 2007, I interviewed Barbara Marx Hubbard, the late Barbara Marx Hubbard, and she was talking about how we're going through the equivalent of birth pangs. And it's been going on a long time. All right. But
Oh, yeah.
that's the process. All right. That's the
Yeah.
process. And eventually we will reach the point when I'll use my terms, the new paradigm will be birthed. And it's not that it's going to be peace and unicorns and rainbows, but it's going to be a place where we all can search for and find those better ways of living for everyone, even though the word better is interpreted differently by every single individual that's here. But at least maybe we will be in a space where we can begin to understand and respect one another's opinions, if you will, or perspectives. I'll use the word perspectives. We're talking with Marvin Wilkerson, and we're talking about a recipe for healing as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I can see in the eyes of Marvin Wilkerson, our guest here on the program, author of a recipe for healing, that he has got something to add to what I was just talking about just a moment ago. Marvin, please take it away.
Well, we're all born with the seed of destruction. And that seed is fear of the unknown. And I think that that is what we all have to come to terms with, is the fear of the unknown. And when we come to terms with that fear, well, then we start facing ourselves. And I think that that is where we can start the self-development and get conscious control over our lower animal self. And this is where healing can take place. And look, the Aquarian age is about you and each one of us moving into a higher level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell people all the time, look, you got a intuition, you might even be psychic, you have a great instinct. That's what you follow, because that is where the soul is trying to guide you. You know, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is they say, oh, I got free will, I can do what I want. No, you don't. You got free will attitude. You got free will to use your creativity any way you choose.
Yeah.
But as far as free will of you going out here and choosing what you want to participate in, no, you don't. Desire comes from the soul. Desire gives you the soul gives you desire, so you will directly experience what you need to experience to correct the error in perspectives and perceptions that you have brought into this lifetime and duplicated in this lifetime. So we're moving into a place of self-realization, whether you like to or not. one experience at a time. Yeah. And that experience is doled out by your soul.
Someone said just a couple of days ago, I was listening to someone, and they said that the people who are doing what is being perceived as the chaos, specifically in this country, but globally, they are here to help to facilitate that transition from where we are now to a better place. That
yes,
it may seem as though what they're doing is counter to what you and I might want. But the reality is, it's like they're kind of like the ox and plow that is turning up the soil in the field in order for you and I to then plant the things that we really want. They don't realize that they're being used by the universe in this way. And so it's like, well, you know what? That takes away my angst, because if the universe is in control, you just talked about how we don't really have free will. The universe is in control. These people who are, as we perceive it, raging chaos and so forth, well, that's what the universe needs to do. And they're using these people who don't even realize they're being used for the universe purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
When in our lifetime have we been so repulsed by the inequities, by the suppression
Mm-hmm.
of groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, if we just look back to the 60s,
Yeah.
yeah, we fought to get certain types of recognition, but we weren't repulsed by the activities and the actions.
Yeah.
We are now repulsed that women aren't treated as equal. We are repulsed that blacks are treated less than humans. We are repulsed that you can't make choices of LGBTQ because that's what you choose to experience.
Yeah.
Look, you just said it. MAGA is just as part of the spiritual process as anybody else, because it takes them to take their freedom and individuality to act out for us to become repulsed.
Yep.
And they get the opportunity to participate to help change the way society is structured, so that we all start transitioning into a humanitarian paradigm.
It sounds strange too. It sounds almost counter or contrary, if you will, to the whole thing. It's like, oh, so what I need to do in my perspective is I need to view them as part of the process and and accept them as part of our society because they're helping us, you and I, for example, to have those perspectives of repulsion and so forth. You know, I mean, my wife, she follows all of these different things on her phone quite regularly. And I understand why. I don't. Because I have known for decades about man's inhumanity to man. It may take a little different forms here and there, but it's the same thing. We've been doing this as long as we've been here. I mean, you go back to, if you want to choose to believe the story of Cain and Abel, for example, okay? So I don't need to know the details, but at the same time, that's why I do these programs, because we are looking for those new ways of living and we're finding them. There are individuals. I mean, I just met a father and daughter. My wife and I actually met the mother and daughter too. She's in Girl Scouts, and this is the time of the year when they're selling the Girl Scout cookies, right? So we have absolutely placed an order. Well, they came over yesterday to deliver them, and we had a great conversation. I don't know what his political leanings are, and I don't care. But we had the greatest of conversations about where we live, how much we love it, how my wife and I got this incredible deal on this house when we bought it back in October, and just all the grace. And I also saw on the look of the little girl's face, the redheaded girl, as going, I wish they'd stop talking so we could go home. And I saw that, and so I kind of backed down a little bit, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely, I was so moved by that experience. And it's really very cool. We're talking with Marvin Wilkerson and his latest work. You also have a book. His latest work, I guess I should say first, is A Recipe for Healing. But I want to go back just a little bit because I don't see it here other than this. You have another book called Soul Fusion Healing. And is that a precursor to A Recipe for Healing? And
well, Recipe for Healing is something that I use on my websites. The Recipe for Healing is the energy, which is astrology, and the mind, which is hypnosis. And when you put those together with the soul, so all three are responding together,
right,
in unity.
Well, let's talk more about that just a moment here as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. He is Marvin Wilkerson, and I would love for you to expand on all of this. So there are three parts of us that are involved in this healing process. Go ahead and continue talking to us about that.
Well, the conscious thinking mind is reflective of the body. So in other words, let me straighten that back out. The body is reflecting your thinking mind. So when you get sick, when you get disease, if you get ill, it's a reflection of your thinking mind, your ego mind. And so how do you get How do you work with the soul? You work with the soul by staying in feelings and staying in the now. I
Mm.
tell people all the time, my analogy is emotions come through at about 15 milliwatts. Intuition comes through at 2 milliwatts. So when you get emotional, you're not pulling in the strength of the soul and in the strength of your guidance system. You're pulling in your ego structure.
Uh-huh.
So when you start listening and staying in a balanced, in tune way to your intuition, your instinct, your psychic ability. And I tell people all the time, hey, ask out loud. Don't just keep it in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Ask out loud what you want, what you would like to know. And in very short order, you're going to get an answer.
Mm.
So when you I mean, I'm reminded of the world was created by the word, and the word was with God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ye are all gods. So
Yeah.
when you use your words, you're in a act of creativity.
Yeah.
And so when you want to know something, ask it. Your angels, guides, and teachers are always there. They'll always be giving you the information. Angels can't not help you. So
Speaking of not having free will.
yeah. So um, that is how I think that we have to learn how to stay in touch with ourselves. And all of this chaos right now is just driving people into themselves, because if you can't stand the macrocosm, how about just living in the micro?
Exactly. By the way, one of the other aspects of this is tying into some of the short little videos. I'm sure there are others as well as some music that's been created for these gentlemen who are walking for peace from Texas to Washington, D.C. And what I find so fascinating is that they don't have an agenda other than spreading the one phrase, today is my peaceful day. Basically, to right now is my peaceful now, that kind of thing. They're not going to Washington to accomplish anything other than to finish the walk, but to spread. And you see these videos of hundreds or thousands of people walking and standing along the roadsides, giving them flowers or what have you. And then they actually return the favor by giving people beads or flowers or what have you. And it's just so incredible. I find it interesting, though. They started from Texas, which I guess is where their temple is, and they're walking through the South. They're walking through your state and others that are along the way. And I find that interesting that that's the path they chose rather than anything further north, or they came out through New Mexico and Arizona, California. In other words, going around the country, going from Texas to Washington, almost a direct route. And I got to tell you, when I watch those videos and I hear there's this beautiful song someone's created, A Walk for Peace. This woman sings it. I love this stuff. This is like,
Yeah.
this is what we're talking. And you talk about self-realization, which of course brought into my mind Paramahansa Yogananda, whose book is my metaphysical primer. Um, just how incredible this act of walking. We had one of them who got an injury, and I don't know if they're still with them or what have you. Now they're walking through the snow and this cold weather and so forth. But people are there and they're responding to that message of today is my peaceful day. What are your thoughts on something like that, that I do believe is making a difference, that is opening people up to that self-realization you're talking about?
Well, I think it's inspirational. And I think that that's what we need right now is the inspiration to make change,
Hmm.
to create the country we want, create the world we want as a humanity. You know, it's funny. I I People are around the world the same.
Yeah.
Politics is not the same. As when we grew up, Russia was always the bad guy. And I kept thinking, well, but how about the Russian people?
Yeah. You and me both.
They're just they're just normal, regular, old, everyday people trying to
Yeah.
live a life. They
Mm-hmm.
ain't got nothing to do with this communism and all of that kind of mess and dictator, blah blah blah. And it's just like so. It's like we need inspiration in any place and anywhere we can get it, so that we can start looking in our own soul and being more authentic
Yeah.
and say, look at them. If they can do that, well, then by gosh, maybe I can do something too. Let me be something. Let me be a light. You know, you brought up Yogananda, but also Krishnamurti was my first primer, and he
Mm.
said, "Man has changed very little in 2,000 years." And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very, very telling when I heard that early on in my life. And I think that as we now are leaving the age of belief systems, which is Pisces,
Yeah.
we're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is the intuitive power mind, so that we start trusting and valuing our intuition and our higher aspects of ourselves
Yeah.
instead of looking outside of ourselves for answers, because all the answers are in. There are no answers
Yeah.
outside.
Well, I'll tell you, I guess then I feel like I have been on the right path in that regard since September of 2019, when we began encouraging people during the year of perfect vision 2020 to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to and follow the promptings of that still small voice. And what's interesting is there would be those of one mindset that would say, well, yeah, but I don't want to give up my free will. I says, that's where you're mistaken. That's where you're mistaken, because I am choosing through my free will, again, with your definition and everything, my free will, I am choosing to follow the promptings. So I am releasing myself from the process and allowing myself to be carried, like you used the example of the rapids, down the river, as it were. And that's one of the things that I've been promoting. And of course, then when we got through 2020, I changed that to the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and really hammering that home. And I'm hoping people are hearing that and are doing that. And it's, as you say, this is the direction that we're going to begin to understand who, from the inside, who we really are. By the way, I had one guest, I asked that question. I says, is there going to come a day when we'll know who we really are? He says, no, no. He says, there'll become a day when we will know who we have always been.
Oh,
I
that's
thought that was a
perfect.
kind of a fine distinction.
Yeah, that's an absolute.
Yeah. We're talking with Marvin Wilkerson, a recipe for healing. And we encourage you to go to astromarv.com to find out more about the work that he is doing. Maybe get in touch with him and so forth. Listen to his podcasts as well, and find out more about how you can make a difference in this world. Even if it's just to go within and spend some time meditating and sending out the energy. My wife and I are both Reiki masters. And we were taught and we understand that when we send out that energy to a person or a situation, we send it out not knowing what that person or situation is going to use it for, because it's not up to us. It's up to the universe to hopefully inspire that person or situation. And I don't know, it was funny because my uncle on my father's side passed away shortly after my wife and I sent him an absentee healing. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what happened here? And then I began to realize my mother told me what happened prior to his passing. He was able to do a few certain things, spend some time with his son and so forth before he passed away. Well, that's what he used the energy for, you know? And I also learned too that you hear the phrase often with people, for example, with cancer, which is what he had. Oh, they lost their battle. I came to realize after my wife's nephew passed, he didn't lose his battle either. He had leukemia. He didn't lose. He won because he's free of the body. Now, none of us, as my father would say, none of us gets out of this world alive. Actually, the front end of that was eat, drink, and be merry in moderation because no one gets out of this world alive. So he'll either use the energy, the a person, for a healing so they have more time here on this planet to do what they're here to do, or they will be freed from the body that has been holding them back. And now they can still, from the other side, do those things that they want to do. And if they want to come back to continue their work, they can do that. Great insights in that regards through those experiences that I've heard. Your thoughts, because sometimes I think when we within Reiki they talk about doing the healing with the hands and chanting the words and or an absentee healing, that maybe healing is the wrong word. I don't know what right word it would be, but it isn't healing per se. It's something else. So your thoughts?
Jesus said it best. Go. Your faith has healed you.
Mm-hmm.
I had struggles a long time, many years, of calling myself a healer because I didn't feel like I was anything other than just a regular old human being trying to be a better human being.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized my greatest gift is to give you the tools to heal yourself. And that is why I'm a healer. The greater sin is lifting the burden from the one that's supposed to carry it. When you realize that ye are all God's and you are the co-creator of your life, whatever you've created, whatever conflict, whatever pain, whatever suffering, you also have the fix. You also have the remedy. And that is the greatest thing that we can realize.
Yeah.
Is that we all have the ability to heal ourselves. As you were talking, the one quote that I love, one of my favorite quotes, is everything is determined. Every beginning and ending by forces over which we have no control. It is determined for the insect as well as the star, human beings, vegetables, cosmic dust. We all dance to a mysterious tune intoned in the difference by an invisible piper. Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say it any clearer,
Oh,
any better than that.
you know, I used to work for a Christian radio station back in the 80s and early 90s during the height of televangelism. And I kept hearing how when good things were happening, it was God, something separate from oneself. And when bad things happened, it was the devil. And this is the scenario I came up with, this analogy. There's an individual, male or female, doesn't matter, walking in this meadow. They have their hands out before them cupped. And if you could materialize your individual will, this person had their will. And they're saying, I just want to do God's will. I just want to do God's will. I just want to do God's will. And they toss it in the air and it goes up. And God catches it in God's hands. And God is moved to tears because one of my creation wants to do my will. Now, while God is speaking, he's also compressing their will down to the size of, let's say, a baseball. And then he rears back and hurls the equivalent of a Nolan Ryan fastball, hits that individual walking in the meadow squarely in the head and says, then do something with your life. You are not a puppet on a string being manipulated by forces you do not understand. Now, I may not understand the forces, but I'm certainly not being manipulated. I am, acquiesce is the wrong word. I am willingly laying back in the river, which would be the divine, and allowing the current to carry me. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the
Yeah.
best I can. I'm not saying I do it all the time, but for the most part, it's I become part of the process. I don't try to control it. And that's what I try to get across to folks, which is also what you're trying to get across to folks too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I ask people all the time. I mean, just take responsibility for everything you create.
How dare you use that four-letter word? Because in the Christian community back then, that was you never used the word personal responsibility because somehow you were taking it away from God. And it's like, huh?
Yeah.
You know? Um, and the thing I love too about the divine is the inspiration that we get, especially when we meditate or we go within. I'm sure that you feel that all the time. And sometimes there's this little task that needs to be done. And like now that we're living in our new home here in Twin Peaks, there are all kinds of little tasks, and I love them. And I consult with my wife, who is very intuitive. All right, very empathic.
Hmm.
And so we'll discuss, and she'll, every time say, well, I really think it would be better that you didn't do it that way because I don't want you to fall off the ladder. All right. So we'll find another way, and so forth and so on. So I love going into that state and just being inspired and guided to take it slow if necessary, and so on and so forth. Even when we're hanging pictures on the wall, there's still that consultation between the two of us as well. It is so much fun. I got to tell you, there's nothing else like it. And my wife and I have actually been referred to by some of my guests who know both of us well that we are a power couple where two or more are gathered, you know. And I just am excited about that prospect. Do you have someone else in your life where you could say, yeah, we're a power couple, or I have this group that I meet together with, and here's what we do. We send out the energy and blah, blah, blah. What about your experiences in that regard?
Oh, I have a wife.
Yeah.
And she helped me become a man when I met her 30 years ago
Oh,
because I
wow.
was a little boy up until then.
Yeah. Well, I know that
So
feeling.
she challenged me to the point to where I had to let go of my belief of what a man was to become a real man
Mm.
because I loved her more than I loved my belief.
Mm. You know, in one interview years ago, my guest shared a perspective. I added to it. He said, well, and then he kind of took mine and said, well, what if you thought about it this way? To which I responded, well, there goes another one of my straw huts up in flames, which would be my beliefs. And if I've got to burn them all down and start over again, I will. You know, I shared with my late sister one Thanksgiving when she was challenging me about my salvation. She was very deep into Church of Christ and so forth. And I said, well, my beliefs of yesterday are not my beliefs of today, are not my beliefs of tomorrow because I'm still alive. I'm still experiencing, I'm still meeting new people, having new experiences. And I love this quote: it is better to begin in doubt and end in certainty than to begin in certainty and end in doubt. And I think
Yes.
a lot of people are starting to make that transition from certainty to doubt because to be, let's just say, a man of faith, which I know you are too, agnosticism is the best place to come from because you're basically saying, like my good friend, if you will, because I listen to him all the time, Larry King, I don't know. I believe this, that, and the other thing, but I don't know. And I think that that's probably a good place to come from because, one day, maybe after the transition, we will.
Well, a quote that I have on the back of my computer that everybody sets before me says, before you'll change, something important must be at risk.
Oh, wow. I won't go into a lot of detail, but back in June, we had to put to rest our dog, Angus, and then 2 days later, we were given the eviction notice, and we had to start looking for a new place. And boy, what you just said, oh wow, that's profound from my perspective and my experience. That is great. I love that. We're talking with Marvin Wilkerson, a recipe for healing, and astromarv.com's the website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Marvin, I want to thank you. This has been a lot of fun. I get a great deal of joy out of doing these programs and having these kinds of conversations. And I'm hoping between the two of us, we've inspired, even if it's just one person who's been listening or watching, to better understand who they are and where they're coming from. And I thank you for being a part of the work we're doing here.
Well, I always remember the Krishnamurti quote, the transformation starts with one.
Mm. I have three final questions that I ask all of my guests. I will ask you those three questions. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for our special edition of Tell Me Your Story with Lumari. And then we're here Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all 9 times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM. Let's see. We're also on Amazon, and we're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will subscribe and click notification. Also, go to Amazon to get a copy of my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life. And also, if you can, leave us a tip. We would be greatly appreciative. Our tip jar is called PayPal. And if you go to richarddugan.com, at the top of the page, there are 2 links. One to Amazon for getting a copy of Choices, and another to PayPal for that tip. We would greatly appreciate it, and we thank you for those who have helped and those who will. And finally, we do ask once again that you take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to spend some time going within, listening to, and following the promptings of that still small voice. With all that being said, we move to our final 3 questions for our very special guest. First of those is, who is Marvin Wilkerson?
A struggling human on a mission to become an alignment with all that is. And to heal people or help people heal their lives because of my experiences that I have been a part of for over 50, 70 years.
What gets you up in the morning?
Appointments.
The calendar, okay.
One more person to help, one more person to talk to. I am living my absolute dream in helping individuals become better, bigger, greater individuals by using my tools. It just fills me and inspires me, and of course everybody that I work with. It helps. It enhances me. So,
and finally, hope you recognize the movie reference from City Slickers. Mitch is out with his buddies horseback riding and asks this question: what was your best day?
Today, right now. There is no other day.
Well, Marvin, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of our work here. And we look forward to connecting with you down the road as well to talk more about the work you're doing and how you are helping folks, and even your podcast. What is the title of your podcast, by the way?
I just I'm on everybody else's podcast. I don't do a podcast.
You don't have one. Okay. But you've got links on your website, which is astromarv.com, to where people can find out more about what you're doing.
And blhypnosis.com. And you can go to soulfusionhealing.com.
Right.
And that will educate you on my book.
Absolutely.
So there's several ways you can get a hold of me.
All right.
And,
Wonderful. And they can get there through astromarv.com.
Oh yeah, Astromarv or blhypnosis.com.
All right. Well, we'll be linked to astromarv.com. We hope that folks will go there, and we thank you once again. And thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.